Until midnight, this is Perth Tonight with Chris Ilsley on 882 6PR.
Yes, indeed. Time to talk about all that technical stuff with Ben Aylett from Easy Wireless. By the way, his website's benaylett.com. As we've mentioned before, 1L, 2 T's in Aylett. Good evening.
Good evening, Chris.
Mate, what's happening with the US defence contractor? Compromise is the word we're using here, and compromise in that sense is never a good word.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, especially when that US Navy contractor is compromised by China.
Oops.
Okay, so you can see that China's got a bit of an interest in finding out what the United States are up to when it comes to naval defence and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this is just something I keep seeing pop up over and over and over again. And being in the cybersecurity field in the way that I am, it just horrifies me that we are still relying on contractors or even allowing contractors to work from home or just basically take data off-site and then hold it on their systems, because it's just another point of entry for, I don't know, China or any other bad guys to get in there and have their way with the information that is actually top secret.
One would imagine why they weren't keeping top secret information secret.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, yeah, that takes it to another level again. So that'd be treason, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? If a contractor said, "Hey, I've accidentally left this stuff on my computer. Oops!" It'd be a shame if somebody was to get in. That would be treasonous, I'd imagine. So yeah, it is a problem. But I just want to see people start taking cybersecurity a bit more seriously. And look, for an example, I'm a cybersecurity consultant for one of my clients, and just on principle alone, I do not bring my own personal laptop in and connect to their work systems. I do access the internet, but that's it. I do not, absolutely do not take any data off-site whatsoever, because I don't want to be that guy that lets China into the US Navy contractor database, or just letting secrets fly.
You would think that there are people like yourself who are employed by organisations like that to make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, they do, but that's the problem. Okay, so this is a problem, but it's also a really, really good opportunity for people looking to get into technology and get into specialist fields. Cybersecurity is one of these fields that is just absolutely screaming out for people, because just by looking at the news, you can tell that there is a shortage of people who are really tuned into information security and cybersecurity and operational security.
It's the weakest link in IT, isn't it?
It's not just IT. It is, yes, there is a big chunk of work that has to be done by IT in order to ensure proper cybersecurity, but it's something that goes all the way to the executive level. People have to be aware it's got to be ground into the culture.
Ben, a lot of stuff, as you would know, is done for the convenience of the customer. Now, I'll give you an example. Up until very recently, Westpac, when you logged on to their website, you had to use a mouse click to put in your password.
That's right.
Now, everyone knows that keystroke loggers can't detect mouse clicks. So what happens is they go to this system where you enter it now using a keyboard, which means if you have your system compromised by a keystroke logger, somebody can get your online banking passwords and that quite easily. Now, the reason why they've done that, I would argue, is not because it makes sense from a security point of view, but because the average customer's probably been bleating, "I don't like using the mouse to log in. This is inconvenient." So what happens? Somebody sits around at one of these think tank meetings like they have in these big organisations. Somebody says, "Oh, we got to do this." So the IT guy says, "But it's a safety thing. Yeah, it's a security feature." "Yeah, but customers don't like it." And then ultimately what happens, they say, "Customers don't like it, get rid of it." Instead of using it as a positive and promoting the fact that they've got this feature and saying, "This actually adds to your security."
And it's something that the banks seem to be getting wrong now and then, and actually more often than they should. I
always thought that was one of their most outstanding features, that they had this, and I thought, that actually creates a line of security.
It does. It does. So I've actually got to look a little further into it, because I'm actually a Westpac customer as well. And I was surprised to see the mouse sort of tapping on the screen replaced with the actual key presses. They might be implementing it differently. I don't know.
But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, the reason why you had the mouse clicks was a safety feature. What they've talked about is this becoming more convenient. Instead of saying, The reason we make you point and click with your mouse is because it's safer, and your security is our greatest concern.
Guess who's been dropping more names than a wannabe at an LA pool party?
You might wonder how blind people deal with everyday challenges. Well, normally the answer is simple. We're not that different from you. We play music. We go to school. We go to work. You get the picture. But sometimes the simplest things can be difficult, and we need a pair of eyes.
Connect to.
That's where you...
This is Perth Tonight with Chris Ilsley.
Indeed, if you'd like to have a chat to Ben Aylett. By the way, don't forget, benaylett.com is the website, and that's where you'll find all of his contact information as well. But if you have some technical issue and you'd like to have a chat to Ben, now's a good time to do it, 922 118 882. Now, you've got a review of an Asus router.
Yes, I have. The Asus RTAC88U. Otherwise known as an absolute beast of a router. It is a honking monster that sits on your desktop, and it is just loaded with lots of features. Why don't they just call it BOR, Beast of a Router? BOAR, BOR. The Asus BOR series of gaming routers. Yes. Okay, so this router, it sort of weighs in around about the $420 mark. But so that's it is.
You didn't tell us you'd have to take out a bank loan to get it.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a high-end router. It's not as, I mean, there are people who are spending well over that. So I've seen routers for go around about $600.
Okay.
So for
look,
this is
I guess if you're really serious, you want something that's really going to grunt.
Yep.
Then you're going to look at something and say, well, okay, I'm paying for something that's going to, and let's be honest, as computer gears go,
yes,
generally routers tend to last a while.
Well, they shouldn't, but they do. Yes.
What do you mean they shouldn't?
Well, there are some cheaper routers out there, and I'm one of the people who, up until recently, was quite happy to buy.
Mate, if you're going to buy
router.
a Rolls Royce, you expect it to last longer than if you're buying a Lada Neva or something.
Yeah. The thing is with routers is that people treat them like appliances. You just plug it in and forget about it.
Set and forget. Yep.
Set and forget. In an ideal world, that would be true. But unfortunately, you remember that story I did a couple of weeks ago about those 500,000 routers that were compromised?
Yes.
Yeah, by the VPN filter bug. Yeah. People don't do sort of security updates. They don't do firmware updates when they know they should. So that's all of those routers that were compromised.
See, I've got a theory on that.
Yeah?
You want to hear it?
Okay.
I've got a theory on everything.
Right.
I've got a theory on this one.
Yep.
I think that it's time that when we have updates that are required, it doesn't give the user the option.
Yeah.
It says you are going to do these updates. Pick a time now, we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen.
Yep. Microsoft has done that to an extent. So we've adjusted to suit it. I mean, Microsoft does cop heat for when Windows wants to do an update, it doesn't update and there's nothing you can do about it. And that does get a few people wound up. So I'd imagine that the router manufacturers would be going, oh, look, we know we've got to force updates, but...
See, I'd argue in a lot of cases, especially... See, the one thing that we forget is that the average user of IT or whatever technology, they're not a geek. Right? They don't care about that sort of stuff. They turn on the computer, it does what they want it to do. That's it.
Yep.
That is all they're concerned about.
Yeah.
And, of course, a lot of these things come along and they're inconvenience. But at some point, I think people actually would learn, well, okay, I've got to have these updates. And once again, it comes down to selling it. Yes, I know that you're a little bit annoyed that we absolutely insist that you do these updates. However, if you don't, your system will be compromised. You'll probably end up with malware or ransomware or something, and you're not going to be very happy.
No.
What we're doing is actually saving you from that.
And look, and this is getting back to the Asus router. I went through the setup process of it, and with the security side of things, it's not only about the software, but also the way that it's deployed. So just the setup process, you get onto it, and then it says, right, before we do anything, we're going to select, we're going to choose an administrator username, and we're going to set an administrator password. Yeah. So right off the bat, we're taking care of the biggest security hole a lot of routers are facing, and that's changing the default username and password.
Does it also have a system where it detects and says, well, okay, you're not going to use password, or you're not going to use your name backwards or something like that? Are we moving to the point where it's starting to say, well, okay, what you have to have is you have to have a combination of alphanumeric and symbols?
I didn't actually get to test it that much, but I was just really surprised and actually pleasantly
that it actually insisted you did anything in the first place.
Yeah, so password security, that's the complexity of a password, that's something that's got to be looked at as well. But I was just absolutely thrilled to see that this router straight out of the box says, right, we're going to set our own very unique username and password. So that was a big thumbs up from me. It is an incredibly powerful router. And you know how with most routers, they're wireless, but they've got 3, maybe 4 ports at the back where you can plug stuff in. This thing's got 8. 8 ports in the back, and it supports something else.
Wow, I like it already.
Yeah, and it supports something called link aggregation. Now, I know.
Does that mean you can actually plug a link extension into it and then create an extension from the extension?
Not quite. Link aggregation in this sense is, let's say we've got a network attached storage device, like a little box that sits off to one side, it's filled with hard drives, and it's got 2 Ethernet ports sitting in it.
Yep.
You can get 2 Ethernet cables, plug one into each port, and then put 2 cables into the router. The router will look at that and it'll say, it's going to the same thing. I'm going to treat that as one fat link that's twice as big as all the others. And these are gigabit ports.
Oh, okay.
So you are getting transfers of up to 2 gigabits per second between the router and the network.
Like that, wouldn't it?
Super quick. Yeah. So this is ideal for doing like high volume backups and lots of streaming and transfers of data. So super, super fast with that. It's also geared for gamers as well. So if you're into gaming, it will actually find ways to get to your online gaming servers that are the best performing servers, the best performing links they can take. So it's not going to take the usual routes. It's actually got built into its firmware to say, you're playing this game, so you're going to want to get to this server. This is the fastest path between the two. And
so even if a path takes you 10 times around the world to get there, it doesn't care, as long as it's the fastest.
As long as it is the fastest, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's really, really quite cool. And I'm actually very, very impressed with this router. I'm actually really glad I picked it up. So it's, that is the Asus RT.
All right, now, I'm going to ask you to give it a mark out of 10, so let's do it.
I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. I think it's really good. And it's got other stuff as well. So it's got a VPN server and a VPN client. It's got AI Protect, so it uses artificial intelligence to help detect malicious activity on your network, and it shuts it down.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's just brilliant.
Beautiful. Let's see. Now, what's it called again?
That's the Asus RT AC88U. Look, there's a review for it on my website, so just jump onto benaylett.com and have a look under the review section, and you'll see it there.
Perth Tonight for Legal Wills Online.
You might wonder how blind people deal with everyday challenges. Well, normally the answer is simple. We're not that different from you. We play music. We go to school. We go to work. You get the picture. But sometimes the simplest things can be difficult, and we need a pair of eyes.
Connect to.
First available helper.
That's where you come in.
Establishing video connection.
Through your smartphone, Be My Eyes connects the blind with sighted people through a live video connection. Simply choose if you need help or want to help by the click of a button.
That's a nice picture of you and your family, Caroline. Is it for a present? Yes, it's a photo from my parents.
You can help just by installing the Be My Eyes app,
Print image.
and we'll notify you when someone needs your help. And if you're in the middle of something, don't worry. Someone else will step in.
This is Perth Tonight with Chris Ilsley on 882 6PR.
Yes, indeed. We're joined by Ben Aylett, and we're talking technology. By the way, his website, benaylett.com, 1 L 2 T's in Aylett. Now, Ben.
Yes.
By the way, last drinks too, if you'd like to have a chat to him, 922 882.
Yeah, here comes a rush.
But you've got secret messaging apps.
Yes. Okay, so
We're on the dark web here or something, mate.
No,
okay.
we're not. No, this is all legit, on the open, out in the clear, in the open,
Yep.
just keeping secrets secret. So if you need to get a message from A to B, you shouldn't be using email if you want to keep it secret, because email is not encrypted. Anyone can intercept that email from A to B, and then they've got access to the information that you've sent to the email. So email is a big no-no.
Right.
So how do we communicate securely? We use instant messaging apps. And I've done a little bit of a rundown of some of the messaging apps that I'm familiar with and I've done some work with, and and we'll go through it.
Yep.
So the first one that I looked at is Signal, just as spelt as it sounds,
Yep.
Signal. It is an open source software platform, which means anyone can get into the code and have a look at it.
Yep.
So you've got lots and lots of eyes looking at the source code, making sure that it is actually able to work properly. It is recommended by none other than Mr. Snowden, Mr. Privacy himself.
Oh, Edward.
Ed Snowden, yes. So he says if you're looking for secret messaging applications, Signal is one of them. It does have end-to-end encryption, which means people can't eavesdrop on the messages. So that's really good. They're actually so good, they've recently been blocked from using a technique known as domain fronting, and that's used to bypass geopolitical bans. So places like Russia and China, they have tried to get the encryption keys from Signal, and Signal has said, no way, Jose. And then they said, fine, well, we're going to ban you from the country. And then and they got banned. So they must be doing something right if they've been kicked out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, Richard wants to have a word with you. G'day, Richard.
G'day, guys. Hey, just talking routers, just
Yes.
want to check any benefit in putting a Cat 5e cable from the router to the TV rather than running Wi-Fi?
Yes. I if you're going to be streaming anything, I say cable where you can, wireless where you can't. So if you can run a cable, definitely go for it.
Yeah, no, we're running Wi-Fi at the moment with Netflix. It's okay, but I just thought if the cable was better, I'd go to the effort of climbing up routes, have a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing it now. And I think you can, if you do it right, you can actually add some value to your home by making sure it's got good quality cable running from all the convenient points. Yeah, definitely go for it. And it's going to be very useful for when you start streaming things in 4K resolution, and then eventually when we go to 8K, I reckon wireless is going to have a hard time doing 8K video.
Awesome. Thanks very much, guys.
No worries. Thanks for calling, Richard.
Good night.
Good night, mate.
It's a really good question, that one, isn't it?
It is a good question, and it's a question I get a lot. So, look, even though wireless is fantastic and incredibly convenient and used just about everywhere.
So the old rule about cable where you can, wireless where you must holds true.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm still a big fan of running cable wherever you can get it and run. So, if you're building a home, A little tip is to ask the builder to run conduit in the walls. This is going to make it a lot easier for a Sparky to come along later on and run any sort of cable that you need. So that's really worth considering. Right, now back to secure messaging.
Yes.
Signal, so we're just finishing off with the last point. It's run by a vocal advocate for privacy, and his name is Moxie Marlinspike. So not only a cool guy, but it's a cool guy with a cool name, which is not too bad at all. Then we've got WhatsApp. This has got a humongous user base. It also supports end-to-end encryption, so that's another big tick. These guys have also butted heads with the authorities and said, no, we're not going to give you security keys.
It seems to me that this is going to be the real tricky issue going forward. We want stuff that we have online to be more secure.
Yes.
To make it most secure, basically what you have to be is not able to bust it open.
Yep.
We have the situation where the authorities don't want people to be able to go online and have encryption that can't be busted open.
Yep.
One wonders where this is going to end up, because I've got a sneaking suspicion that as we go forward, authorities are actually going to require by law that they be able to have access to everything, because the moment they can't is the moment that you actually are able to perfectly keep them shut out. If you've got some stuff that works really well and it keeps everybody out, then the authorities are not going to like that.
No, they're not.
So we've got this rather interesting almost face-off happening over people's privacy versus the desire of these authorities to want to have access to everything.
Yeah.
And more we've seen the willingness of people who produce this kind of software to say, dear authorities, nick off.
Yes. Yep. All righty. Now, getting back onto WhatsApp, they're also privacy advocates, as I've said. They're owned by Facebook. So if anyone's wondering where does the money come from, it's coming from Facebook.
Gotcha.
So that's another thing. You've got to follow the money to find out where their motivation is. Okay, so because also they're Facebook, there's some sort of implication that they are playing nice with the authorities. So they might be helping with law enforcement. So we don't know. Facebook Messenger, of course, that on its own is not secure, but it does have an encrypted or an end-to-end encryption mode, which treats the messages differently, and they are properly encrypted from one end to another. Again, it's Facebook, so take whatever it is you like. With
take it as you will.
Grain of salt, grain of salt. It's also very feature-rich, so you can do lots of things with it. And then we get to the second last of the 5 that I've had a look at. It's called WeChat. Now, WeChat has got a huge user base in the Asian countries, and it's extremely versatile. But the downside is it's Chinese owned and influenced.
Right. Okay. So the Chinese government have got access to it. Forget it.
Yep.
Right. Chinese government are not going to allow anything to be developed in their country they can't access.
Yep.
So forget about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So even the Department of Defence has said no, don't. Okay.
No.
And then there's Threema, which is a very, very techie type one. So it's a bit cumbersome to set up, but once it's set up, it is absolutely rock solid and bulletproof, and you pay for the app. So you know where they're getting their money from. So I think it's about $3 or $4. And this one is an absolute darling of the privacy sector. So the people who are absolute freaks about cybersecurity, they go for Threema.
Beautiful. Well, as always, Ben, much appreciated.
Always fun.
All right, we'll have you back here next week. By the way, if you want to get in contact with Ben, just jump online. benaylett.com is the website.
Need to kickstart your morning? Try McCafe for